There are so many great games in our childhood, but as technology improves, games get faster.
There are many stories we wish we could go back to, but find it harder to follow due to the graphics or the inaccessibility of the older consoles. That's why we love a good remake.
Whether it's identical to the original with updated graphics,
or a modern adaptation of a classic, there are lots of remakes that we can't stop playing.
I'm Marcus.
And I'm Simon. And here's a list, in no particular order, of our favourite video game remakes.
Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Crash Bandicoot is iconic. Since his first arrival on PlayStation in 1996, this manic marsupial has captured our hearts and imaginations with his wacky adventures. The original trilogy, Crash Bandicoot Cortex Strikes Back, and Crash Bandicoot Warped, are a pillar of the platforming genre. A remake of these classics was a highly demanded and much hyped event, which was a guaranteed win for publishers Vicarious Visions. Insane Trilogy was made with so much love and respect for its source material that fans were blown away by the final product. It looked beautiful, it played well, except for those few areas, you know the ones I'm on about. Lost levels from the originals were added as free DLC, and the time trials now appear in all three games, not just Crash Bandicoot Warped. It's a perfect platformer full of joy and nostalgia, which is why we still find ourselves going back to it time and time again.
Spyro Reignited. Following the success of the Insane Trilogy, fans of the Bandicoot's spiritual cousin Spyro demanded a remake. The original Spyro trilogy on the PlayStation 1 was another much-loved series of games with a solid fan base. Much like Crash in terms of gameplay and design, it was another sure win. When Spyro Reignited launched in 2018, it was praised for being such a faithful remake. Toys for Bob put so much love into it, and it was built from scratch based on the original. The sassy dragon was back and better than ever, and his design was closer to his gentle, cute origins instead of the terrifying Skylanders version. Reignited an aged world with a new lease of life and added some context to certain creatures that didn't quite translate too well due to limited graphics of the original. Like Crash, the level of detail in just about everything is astonishing and will leave you exploring long after you've collected all the gems. As for Toys for Bob, we're so excited to see what they're bringing to the table with their new instalment of the Crash Bandicoot franchise too, and a long overdue and aptly named fourth entry, It's About Time.
Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. The remake of 1998's Game Boy Classics Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue were an interesting release in 2018 for the Nintendo Switch. While following the same basic storyline as the original games, the gameplay had a massive shake-up. Trying to incorporate Pokemon Go, the popular mobile game, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee scrapped the idea of battling to capture a monster, and instead trainers would throw balls at the Pokemon until they stayed inside. Just like in Pokemon Go, the use of berries, timing throws to hit the centre of a shrinking circle, and the use of specific balls increased the chances of catching the Pokemon. It also introduced the feature of bringing Pokemon over from Pokemon Go, as long as they were Generation 1. That being said, longtime fans were overall disappointed with the game and the frustrating new catching system. Well, we just love Pokemon, and we can't wait for the rumoured Let's Go Sinnoh.
Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. The Legend of Zelda is another classic and much beloved series of games. Link's Awakening was originally released for Game Boy in 1993, but the remake was released in 2019 on the Nintendo Switch. Beautifully remade with the cutest and cartoony graphics and simple gameplay, it was addictive and completely disarming. What starts as a simple, child-friendly adventure quickly evolves into a nightmare of dungeon mazes, monsters, and crazy bosses. While the puzzles are incredibly difficult, the enemies remain adorable and the charm never fades. It's a timeless quest for all ages.
Destroy All Humans. Destroy All Humans first launched in 2005 on the PlayStation 2. We all loved the campy B-movie style of the original as we flew around in a UFO, blowing up cities and popping people's brains out of their heads. It was only a matter of time until a modern remake would be released with updated graphics. While the original took a more realistic approach to the graphics and storytelling, the remake surprised us by embracing its cheesy 1950s inspiration and ran yards with it. The new game has a much more cartoony design. The characters all look like they've walked out of a Tim Burton movie, and it really works well. The game itself plays well enough, though there can be some issues with the psychokinesis powers when you're trying to pick up and throw objects. Other than that, Destroy All Humans is a brilliant remake which, like Crash Insane Trilogy, features levels cut from the original game.
Tomb Raider Anniversary. Since 2005, and even before, there were whispers of a remake of the iconic first Tomb Raider game for its 10th anniversary. When Tomb Raider Anniversary released in 2007, it was a perfect addition to the series. Crystal Dynamics tweaked the story to fit into their Legend timeline and fixed some of the murkier aspects of the original, which often left players confused. As a kid, I did not have a clue. Lara's relationship with Natla and the henchmen Pierre and Larson were explored in more depth, leading to one of the darker and more emotional character moments of the game. As well as character and narrative improvements, the original levels were expanded. The music had an overhaul too, with Troels Folman's stunning orchestral score that gave it an epic cinematic feel. We can never get enough of that Egyptian theme tune.
Ratchet & Clank. Ratchet & Clank was originally released in 2002 on the PlayStation 2. It was an instant hit and went on to spawn countless sequels with cheeky titles such as Quest for Booty and Up Your Arsenal. The reimagining of the original game in 2016 was to tie in with the release of the movie. It was a fun game and a welcome return to the crazy futuristic worlds we had loved as kids. Even more exciting is that a brand new game has been announced for the PlayStation 5 called Rift Apart, which sees the duo jump between dimensions, much like Crash in It's About Time. We're sensing a bit of a theme here.
Medieval. Following Sir Daniel Fortescue on his quest to defeat the evil warlock Zarok, Medieval came out on the PS1 in 1998. The dark, spooky platformer/action-adventure was popular because of its wit, charm and comedy.
It's the Hall of Heroes shopping mall. Bargain hunters should check out the ground floor. Well-to-do shoppers should check out the upper floor. That's where it's at.
The remake, which released 21 years later in 2019, was one of our favourite and most memorable remakes of recent years. The levels were recreated with modern graphics, which allowed much more detail within the imaginative Gothic worlds. The gameplay felt much more fluid and less clunky than the original. We never realised just how much we missed the world of Gallowmere. Here's hoping for a remake of Medieval 2.
Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 will always be widely considered as the best game in the entire series among fans. It's only fitting that Resident Evil 2 Remake is the best of the remakes of the first three games. Resident Evil 1 Remake did a wonderful job of expanding on the mansion incident and gave us the horrific Crimson Heads and Lisa Trevor. While Resident Evil 3 Remake was good, it was far too short and lacked the threat of the original. But Resident Evil 2 gave us all that we wanted and more. It was faithful and fresh, and it changed enough, but kept enough the same. It brought us one of the scariest monsters in video game history ever, with Mr. X, who stalked us through the gorgeously detailed halls of the RPD. While many remakes tend to work on being identical to the originals, RE2 Remake dared to change things around. One example being how the team reimagined the classic Ivy monsters in clever, modern ways. It was a perfect remake that had fans screaming in both terror and excitement. Now we just need to wait and see what happens with an RE4 remake, though we'd rather have Code Veronica.
I so want to enjoy this.
Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Silent Hill Shattered Memories isn't a remake as much as a reimagining of the first Silent Hill game. Originally released on the Wii and PSP in 2009, it later ported to the PS2. The game follows Harry Mason as he searches for his lost daughter just like the original. This time, however, there are major plot differences, rejigged maps of familiar locations, and characters aren't the people we remember.
We're different people now.
The other world is cold and icy instead of the fiery metallic hellscape we're accustomed to, and this time, the only monsters are creepy humanoids which relentlessly chase Harry through this ice world. The game threw a massive curveball at long-time fans and hooked new fans alike. It was also one of the first games to integrate a feature that was later used in Until Dawn, by using the psychologist scenes to influence the game by tailoring it to the player. Silent Hill Shattered Memories was truly a risk that paid off.
So those were our top 10 favourite video game remakes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, remember to subscribe and hit those notifications to make sure you see the videos as soon as they're released.
Which game remakes are your favourites? Don't forget to let us know in the comments below. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram.